next to the overhand shuffle, the riffle shuffle is the shuffle used most in the Western world. And here is how it looks. That's a riffle shuffle. Let's look at how to do it effectively and elegantly. So this is the grip, and the hands rest relaxed on the table. The sides of the hands are on the tabletop. Two fingers, the ring finger, the little finger, go on the sides. The middle finger is the only finger at the outer side, the thumbs at the inner sides. Now look at two ways of doing the riffle shuffle, the closed riffle shuffle and the open riffle shuffle. First of all, the packets have to be separated. So we call this an uppercut. The right hand is uppercutting to the right, or we say the left hand is undercutting to the left. The packets are brought in this V-shaped configuration. The hands move in and now seize the cards in exactly this way. The four fingers lightly on top, because they're going to afford some counter pressure to the thumbs. The thumbs lift up the inner ends and riffle them off gently, while you get a very gentle counter pressure by the four fingers. Once the corners have been interlaced, the hands move back into the basic riffle shuffle position and push in packets like so. So that's how a closed riffle shuffle is done. Now in an ordinary riffle shuffle, you always uppercut to the right, drop off from the right packet first, and finish from the left packet, because that loses the bottom cards and the top cards. And that's the accepted procedure of a riffle shuffle. Now let's look at the open riffle shuffle. It's very similar. However, the position of the hands doesn't change. Once you separate the packets, the position is kept. And the riffle shuffle executed like so, and squared in exactly the same way. Let's see what to do after the packets have been pushed together. Whether you do it with an open or you do it with a closed riffle shuffle, doesn't matter. You reach this point and you want to have a perfectly squared deck. You stay like this, the middle fingers go around the outer corners, come in, and the thumbs and the middle finger perform a sort of milking action, with the four fingers joining the other two fingers. Not only does this effectively square the deck, it also looks very neat and elegant. Now do this very gently. At the beginning there is a tendency to be very hard on the card. Don't bend them up, just lift them up and gently let them go. So we'll need a little bit of practice, but we always think that you're just caressing the cards. The riffle shuffle is a wonderful technique to control the top and the bottom stock, individual cards, several cards. Now let's look at that. If we really shuffled, the card will be lost, but it's a very easy matter to drop the top cards last. Now a way to effectively hide this, rather than doing this several times always the same way, is to alternate the uppercut and the undercut. That is, in the first action you uppercut to the right. In the second action you uppercut to the left. And to further simulate that, you lift the look. You look at the spectators as you're separating, then you look down, the shuffle. The audience can see that you shuffle. You look up, separate to the left, you look down again, and you shuffle. In much the same way, the bottom cards can be retained by simply dropping the bottom cards first. And you can apply the same strategy of alternating the undercut and the uppercut to effectively dissimulate the control of the bottom card. Now obviously you can not only control one card, but even larger stocks like 5, 6, 7 cards. And here is the showiest way of applying the riffle shuffle, and that's the riffle shuffle in the air with waterfall, and it looks like this. Now although it looks very showy and difficult, it is not. The only thing you really have to learn, and that will take a little time, is to grip the deck in exactly this fashion. And it has to be secure, locked grip that will allow you to do this. Once you can do this, and you can do this with both hands, you're able to do the riffle shuffle in the air. Now let's see how to elegantly get into this position. Release half the pack, take them exactly the same manner, help with the right fingers, riffle the cards into each other, lift them to this position, securely locking the card for just an instant, then immediately release the pressure of the fingers, keeping the pressure of the thumbs, and you're going to obtain a very nice looking and sounding shuffle. Now you can listen to the sound, whether it's the table riffle shuffle or the riffle shuffle in the hands. It should always sound a little bit like the purring of a cat and not like a breaking, you know, like an icebreaker going to the Antarctic. Like this. A very gentle sound. The sound is as gentle as the touch. Have you ever been in Las Vegas, Lake Tahoe, Atlantic City, or one of the playing casinos? So what do you play?
Mainly slots.
Slots, okay. You ever played craps? Or
No.
The dice game? Oh, I have some, look, wait, there are. I have some magical dice that will win any crap game, imaginary dice, yes, because they are magicians, of course, yes. So let me show you that they're genuine. You know, I throw them, now I have a 6 and a 4, okay? So if I throw them again, now I have 2 5s, which shows they are not loaded, they're not special dice, okay? Yes? Good.
Okay.
Good. Now, would you, Ruth, take, please, the dice and... Good. You're playing very well. It's amazing what you can do with adults. You're playing very well. Very good, very good. Now I'm going to demonstrate. Look, let me show, first, can I help? Sorry, you dropped one. Good, yes. Let me show you what I'm asking to do in just in a second. You shall throw the dice, okay? I'm looking away so I can't see what you're throwing. Now in this particular case I have a 2 and a 3, you see? So it's 5, right? Good. Yeah. So you're going to count that many cards. I mean, you have 12 or 5, whatever. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Provided you have 5. Then you look at the next card. You show it, yes, to Anna, so you both know it. And then you put the cards back. Good?
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
So let's be sure that we shuffle correctly. Good. 52 cards, they're all here. Please, Ruth, please take the dice first. And yeah, I'm looking away. I don't want to do that. Good, good. You throw? Good. You add them up? Good. Now put the dice away so I can't see them when I turn around. Yes. Good? Yes. Now, whatever number you have, you count that many cards on the table, like I showed you before. You count.
Okay.
Yes. Very slowly, yes. Yes. Don't do it too loud so I can't even... I can't hear. Okay. Good. You done? You look at the next card? Did you? You look at the next card? Yes? You show it to Anna. You put it back on the deck. And you put the cards you counted plop on top. Plop on top. Good. So may I turn around?
Yes.
Where are you? Oh, there you are. Good. Everything done?
Everything's done.
You hit the dice, yeah? Okay?
I
Good,
hit
good,
the
good,
dice.
good, good, good. Okay, now we don't know... I'm going to shuffle the cards. Actually, you can shuffle like the American gamblers do. Do you shuffle like the American gamblers?
Sure.
Okay, please, go ahead. Shuffle like the American gamblers do. Or maybe Monte Carlo. Yes, go ahead. Very good. Oh. Again, go ahead.
All right.
I'm going to do the difficult version.
Okay.
Yes. And cut. Yes. Carry the cut, as they say professionally. You cut as well.
Okay.
Now, I mean, the deck has been shuffled, it's been cut. Carry the cut. Good. Very good. Now, I'm not even going to touch or look through the card. Who's got the card? You both got... Oh, that's good. Makes it a little bit easier again. Yes, a little bit easier. Let me see. I have it. Yes, I have. It's not a red card. It's a black card. I know what I'm doing. Oh no, I see. It's a red card. Yes. Yes, because it's not a diamond. It's a heart card. Yes. It's a red card. I got it. Now I commit myself. Okay. And you must commit yourself as well in just a minute. I'm going to put the card here on the table, okay? Although I'm going to show you, yes, I'm going to put it, let me put it here. Voila, there it is. Now, I'm not changing anything. 52 different cards, freely chosen by the throw of 2 imaginary dice in a loud voice. What was the card?
Ace of Hearts.
Ace of Hearts? I know. That's what I'm saying.
Awesome.
Here's the Ace of Hearts.
Wow.
That was really cool.
That's great.
Well, and where are the dice?
Here.
Yes, thank you. Now look, I give each of you a souvenir.
Thank you.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
you can take them. You never know when you need them.
That's
you know.
true.
Yes. Yes. The mind mirror relies on a very clever riffle shuffle principle devised by Charles Jordan. Now let me first explain very briefly the principle. I have 3 cards, ace, 2, 3 of clubs, which I'm going to place on top, and I'm going to riffle shuffle the cards, yes? And of course, the cards do get shuffled, don't they? Because it's a shuffle. Well, if I show you, again, look, you see that although some cards got in between, possibly some others got in between here, it doesn't matter, the order of the cards remain the same. And that's the working, the operating principle behind this trick. What we need is a bank of cards, just 13 cards. In our case, I just picked all the hard cards. That could be any other cards. So they rest on top of the pack. And the order doesn't matter. Not important. The only thing I remember in this case, let's put 5. So we have this. Okay, you have a 5 in the 5th position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so that's the one I'm going to use in the explanation. Another reason why I picked this trick is that it illustrates how you can stage deceptively a mathematical principle. Now, it's necessary that the spectator deals no more than 12 cards, yes, in this trick. So, just going there and saying, please deal any number from 1 and 12, just is very suspicious. So, for instance, the presentation with the invisible dice, or whatever you can come up with that would limit to 12, yes, is a humorous way, but it's also a very logical way to limit to 12, because you can't throw more than 2 sixes. Let's assume now the spectator throws 6, whatever it is. She would count down 6 cards. Now, the problem is, how do I avoid that the spectator is going to make any mistake? And one way of doing it, and I'm going to illustrate it in this trick, is that I do the procedure before the spectator goes into it. So in this case, remember, I threw the dice and I say, oh, it's a 3 and a 2. Of course, I make it 5 because I know the 5th card from the top is my key card, is 5 of hearts, yes? So I will illustrate it to the spectator, say you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the number of you obtained through the dice. You look at the next card, and do it very clearly, and then you drop the rest on top. And by doing this, you brought the previously remembered key card to the top. So it's a 5 of hearts. So I can introduce a false shuffle to retain, of course, the order and position of the top 13 cards, if I like. Actually, I think it's a good idea. And the spectator counts whatever, for instance, 6 cards. 1, 2, 3. When she starts dealing, she might do, you know, a little bit, just, lay people will go like this. So make sure you say, count them silently so I can't hear. Remember, I do a little gather, blah, 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 or something like that, like the children do when they put the fingers in the air, because that's a solution people will have at the end. I'm going to explain this in more detail a little bit later, but it's always important that at each moment we are aware that people try to find out how our tricks work, and that we design what we say and what we do in such a way that the intelligent mind cannot penetrate the secret. For this we have many strategies. This is one of them. So we have 6, for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, silently counted. She looks at the next card, in our case, whatever it is the 10 of hearts. And now by placing the dealt cards on top, we have the key card going on the 10. So the 5 goes on the 10. Now, when the spectator riffle shuffles the cards twice, what is going to happen is that we have introduced cards between, we don't know how many, between the hard cards, but the 5 is always going to precede the 10. Yes? So we have a distant card, which is another principle. Now let's look at the situation here. In this particular case, you can see the 5 at some points. Now in our example, we have 2 indifferent cards in between, and then comes the 10 of hearts. Now that's a fascinating, very interesting principle to be used in many different ways. Now here is an idea I use in the presentation to avoid people thinking, well, he's just looking through the cards and finds my card. Now, I know it's a hard card. So that's when I started to say, I think you don't have a black, you have a red card. People go, yes. Not only is it a red, it's a hard card. Yes. I mean, you're almost there. And then I pretend, and of course it's the, but I don't pronounce the value. Of course, I don't know which one it is. But since I already divined two things, the spectators are going to assume, well, he very probably knows even the third, which is very strong. Because now, when I'm going to put the card on the table, it's just, so to speak, to commit myself. But what I'm really doing is, of course, I'm looking for the key card. In our example, it's the 5. Then I take the hard card following it and put it face down. So I say, les jeux sont faits, rien ne va plus, whatever, I've committed myself. Now we have the card named, which is very important for several reasons. We're going to look at it a little bit later. But the spectator names the card and I turn over the card. Now again, there are different ways of turning over the card. You can turn it over sideways, you can turn it over that way, you can turn it over this way. Now, in the situations where you reveal the correct card, it's a good idea to first turn it towards yourself, look at it, create this moment of suspense, and then have the revelation, rather than immediately turning it over. In cases where this is the wrong card, because we're going to do some kind of sucker effect, it's a good idea to turn it over first towards the audience, so people get, that's the wrong card, but I don't see it. And then I only see it and I have my reaction. So, this is the mind mirror, and it's an excellent, very deceptive trick that will even fool magicians. Transfer cuts are cuts where the deck is cut several times and thereby cards transferred from the top to the bottom or vice versa. Let's first look at the basic concept, which is the double cut, or sometimes referred to as the double undercut. We have a break above a card. Let's assume it's the 3 of clubs. Now we are going to perform 2 cuts and thereby transfer the 3 of clubs to the top of the pack. Now we first cut about half the cards below the break, put them on top, then cut directly at the break and put them on top. Let's look at the same action from the back. We perform a first cut, about half the cards below the break to the top, and the next half on top. The double cut can also be effectively used as a false cut. Let's assume we have this at the top and the 8 of diamonds on the bottom. We perform a swing cut, keep a break, wait a minute, so we use a positive insertion at this point and then perform a double cut at the break. Bring back the deck in the exact same order. Now, this is a very effective control for a selected card. However, we have to add a little subtlety. Now, regardless of how we have obtained the break, let's assume we just did some kind of diagonal insertion. Now we have a break above the selection. If we just did the double cut, somebody looking at us might suspect, well, he just cut to the card. Although cutting twice is a good idea, because when he cut the first time, they think, oh, maybe cut to the card. Now we cut the second time, and of course that destroys that theory. You will see a little later in the course several applications of this and how to cleverly, verbally stage the procedure. But the best way really is that immediately after we did a double cut, to follow it up with an overhand shuffle, actually with an in-jog shuffle that brings the card on the top. So the spectator, they will always remember the things they saw last. So here is a perfect way to combine that. The card has been put back. In some way we have obtained a break above it. We double cut it to the top. We perform an in-jog shuffle. And now rather than bringing it back in a second shuffle, we do what we already looked at in the previous chapter. We obtain a break below the in-jog and now cut small packets to the table. Now this is a very deceptive control that uses the double undercut, and it won't be recognized even by some experienced magicians. Let's look how the transfer cut concept can be used to transfer the top card to the bottom and at the same time retain the exact order of the rest of the deck. Let's use the 3 of clubs. We obtain a break beneath the 3 of clubs. The little finger retains it like this. We cut about half the packet on top, then cut at exactly the break, bringing the card to the bottom. Now in this particular application, I like to do a triple cut rather than a double cut, because a double cut, just done on its own, looks like a cut, and then you uncut the deck again. So to add a little bit more deception, here is how to proceed. We obtain again a break beneath the top card. We cut about a third to the top, then about half the cards below the break, but leave them in this configuration, then cut at the break, but cut the configuration like this on the top of the table and follow up with the last packet. Leave this a few seconds, then go back and square up. To cut the bottom card to the top looks similar, but it's a little different. So here we obtain first a break above the card to be cut to the top. So we can slightly bend the deck, riffle off the card, and the left little finger takes over the break. We swing cut about 2/3 of the deck into the left hand, immediately replace it below, still retaining the break. And then we do exactly the same as we did before. We cut about half the packet, cut at the break, and replace on top. Wait a few seconds and go and square the packets. In either techniques, you can, of course, not only transfer one card, but several cards, any number of cards under which you just simply are holding a break. One thing is important to protect the break from the left side. From the right side, it will be naturally protected by your right hand. Let's look at the left side. If we do it carelessly, the moment we cut like this, the spectators on our left will be able to see the breaks. So a way to get around this is to cut with the left hand moving like so, and immediately putting the cards on top, because like this, at all times, the break will be covered. Let me demonstrate a very unusual phenomenon. Okay, very, very unusual. We do this with an experiment. But before we start, I would like you, Ruth, to just cut the deck, whatever it pleases you. Go ahead. Cut, yes? You happy with that? We're going to mark, for instance, the cut, yes? Because to start with, we need a lucky card. It's going to determine sort of in what way the experiment will be conducted. So the deck has been shuffled. You have cut, correct? Good. So you're going to take the card. You cut it without looking at it, of course.
Okay.
Yes, we don't want to challenge luck too much for the moment. You know, but we're going to there. So Anna, I'm going to give you the deck, and I'm asking you to think of a number, not too big maybe, but not too small. So, and what's the number?
3.
A small number. Good. Okay, go. Count 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. Now I have for you a match, which I would like you to put on top of the pile, so nobody can touch it, neither from the top nor from the bottom. Very important. Good. And Ruth, I'm going to give you the deck. Please take it. Think of a number. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever you like. Name it.
8.
8. Good number. Oh, go. Count, please. 7,
8.
Correct? Yes? Thank you. Please put another match on top of it. So it's very important. Nobody can, add or take anything from that. And Anna, I will ask you a third time, because all good things go by 3. You say this in English? Yes?
Sure, yeah.
Aller guten Dinge sind 3 in German, in all the languages they use that. So what's the number?
6.
Now, I put a little space for you.
Okay.
Please. 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you admit these numbers, please, have been determined by your own choice, freedom, and whatever you came up with. I don't know how you came up to the number, but that's the way it is.
Yes.
Now our lucky card, please. Oh, look at that. That's a coincidence. 7. Mystical number. Lucky number for you? Maybe? Not so much? I don't know. It's been... number 7 crops up everywhere. Greek mythology up to the present day. 7 notes in the music, 7 days in the week, 7 colors in the rainbow. I don't know, 7 dwarfs in the fairy tales. Well, maybe the lucky card means something. Let's look at the card you've determined through your number. It's a 7. The card you have determined through it's a 7. And this card you have determined is a 7. Well, the 7 definitely is a lucky card.
Wow. That was amazing.
That's why I'm doing it. Seventh son of a seventh son is one of the best tricks you can do for a lay public with a pack of cards, in my opinion. Now, here it's very simple. The 4 sevens are on top of the pack. We retain them on top of the pack by using an in-jog shuffle. And then transfer the top 2 sevens with a transfer cut to the bottom. Okay, so the whole trick is a nice application of the transfer cut. We end up with 2 sevens on top and 2 sevens on the bottom. And as you remember from the presentation, we use the crisscross force to force the top 7 of this pair. So bring them back by assembling the cards. So now we have 1 7 on top and 2 on the bottom. Ideally, you use this 3 different spectators, and each spectator deals down cards. In this instance, I had 2 spectators, so I go back and forth. I give the first spectator the deck. She deals as many cards on the table as she likes. It doesn't really matter. And now I need to have the deck back. So before she sets the deck even on the table, I come out with a pocket with the matches, and I hand her the matches. In order to hand her the matches, I have to take the deck out of her hands. So I go like this, and while she's doing this, while she's taking out the match and putting it on the packet, I have enough time to undercut the bottom 7 to the top. Now, since I'm not drawing attention to the cut in this specific application, I advise against using a triple undercut, but simply just use a double undercut. Yes, because it looks like as if I was playing with the cards. People won't even notice it. So this is repeated with the next spectator, because we have the next 7 on top. So 1, 2, 3, whatever cards they are, and do the same thing with the matches, bringing the 4th 7 to the top with a double undercut. And she also counts down whatever number she think of. Now for the denouement, I reveal the 7, which is a very nice number. You can try and pick other numbers if you like. For instance, the number 3 and the number 8 are also symbolic numbers in different cultures. So whatever, you can make a nice story out of it. And then, of course, as the climax, we reveal each packet having a 7 on the bottom of it. That's the 7th son of a 7th son, a very good layman trick. The glide is one of the oldest slides documented. Actually, it already appears in a book from 1584, Scott's Discovery of Witchcraft, which is one of the very first written documentation we have about magic. Now, what the glide does, it's a substitute for a double lift, for an exchange, for a second deal. So it's a very versatile slide. Let's look at the mechanics of it. The 2 of spades, which I would like to put here face down on the table. This is the glide. It exchanges a card you show with another one that is directly below it. Here are the exact mechanics first of all. The grip is a normal dealing grip. When the deck is turned over, the forefinger leaves its position and the 4 fingers are pulled together. Yes, like so. Now here's what gives the slide the name, that the pads of little finger, ring finger and middle finger pull the card. Originally the cards were pulled like this, or it was done with just 1 finger. In old books you see illustrations like that, which is a little bit dangerous because from different angles the action can be seen. Here's how to do this imperceptibly. Keep the fingers together, don't glide the card to the back, but just a little bit to the side. This is enough because the only thing which is necessary is to free a portion of the second card from the bottom, which then is being taken by the right middle finger and pulled out on the table. Let's look at a few details. It's important that the forefinger and the thumb firmly hold the deck. The other three fingers are regarded as a unit. So look at these three fingers as if they were one finger. To afford a little misdirection, point to a place on the table. I'm going to put the card over here. And that's the moment the card glides back, come back, and put the second card on the table. Now you can either glide the bottom card back into its position or leave it there, extract the next card and point to the one you place it, thus implicitly affirming that this is the card you previously showed. An important issue is how to get into the glide position to begin with, because it's very phony if you take the deck and you say, I'm going to put the card like that. So let's look how to get the card effortlessly in an elegant way into this position. Now a way to do it, for instance, is if I show the bottom card, oh, the 9 of hearts. Now that's your card, sir. Elegantly is being put into the left hand. Let's put it face down over here. So the 9 of hearts over here and maybe the 3 of hearts over here. You're going to see further ways to manage the glide in a trick I call the Coué test, and which you see in the performance section. So a pack with 52 playing cards. I insist on that because now in Switzerland, where I live, we have 36 cards. In Spain, they have 40 cards, and in Italy, they have 36 cards, and it's different in all countries. So here we are playing with a full deck, 52. So from these 52 cards, I would like you to take a card, whichever you like. Go ahead, take one. You like it? Look at it. If you don't like it, you can put it back.
I like it. It's a good one.
Very good. Please show it to Ruth. I'm going to look away. And show it all guests at home as well. You okay? Good? Very good. Please put it back wherever it pleases you. So somewhere in the pack is your card, and well, let's shuffle a bit more and give it a cut. So I have no idea what your card is, I swear, and I don't have an idea where it is. But you saw it, didn't you? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're going to find it. Émile Coué. He was a French psychologist, and he invented the method you will have heard of. You know, he said, you stand in front of the mirror. He was the father of autosuggestion. You know, maybe first self-help. You know, he said, you stand in front of the mirror and you say, in every day, in every way, I'm feeling better and better. That was Émile Coué's idea. I have no idea if it works, but we don't need that. But we need that for this piece, because I'm going to ask you, Ruth. I mean, you don't know where it is, but you know which one it is. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So you say, I'm going to cut to my card, and you cut.
I'm going to cut to my card.
Yes, and you cut about a third, so you have a maybe good. Again, say, I'm going to cut. I'm going to give you another chance. You know, so
Okay.
Because you're doing it first time, so.
I'm going to cut to my card.
Please.
Over here?
Yes. Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. Yes. Good. And you. Let's see. Don't say anything. It's not the first time I'm doing. It's the second time. First time, very bad. 2 of hearts. No, I don't think so. Don't say anything. But I don't think it's a 2 of hearts. No, I don't think so. 8. No. I don't think so. Not the 2 of hearts. Not the 8. No, I don't think so. The queen. No. Well, it's the first time you did that. I mean, it's not the queen. It's not the 8. It's not the 2. Well, then it has to be between the bottom card and the top card. Okay. Now, since psychology seems to have failed, we resort to magic. Good. Yes. So we have how many cards? 52 minus 3. We have 49 cards left. So you can say any number from 1 to 49. Maybe not so big, otherwise we'd be here tomorrow.
Okay, 13.
13. I'm going to count them to make it more dramatic. I count them face down, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Is that right? 11, 12, 13. For the first time, what was your card?
Queen of clubs.
Yeah, not the one I showed you before, the one you selected at the beginning. Queen of Clubs?
Yep.
I'm glad the magic worked. The
Holy
magic
smokes.
worked. Show them.
You want me to?
I don't know. No, it's a. You know,
Wait.
How'd you do that?
that shows that magic is always better than psychological humbug. Yes. I picked the Kuwait test because, in my opinion, it really is one of the 5 or 6 very best card tricks you can do for a lay audience. Also, it's a very nice illustration of how to manage the glide. So, let's see how to start. The card is selected in any way and is eventually controlled to the bottom. So you can use any of the techniques we have discussed in that chapter. Here I introduce the theme. The presentational plot, which, by the way, I found the first time in a German book by Leopold Figner, Höhere Kartenkunst, in 1927. It's a curious thing how far these stories go back sometimes. So, spectator is going to cut. All I ask her to cut 3 packets. So the only thing I need to do is to keep track where is the bottom card. In our case, the 8 of diamonds, which we'll assume to be the selected card, is on bottom of the packet on my left. So now let's look at the management of the glide. We're going to use exact handling, which you're going to use in the glide a little later, in a harmless context. I show it, I turn it over, I put it down, and briefly flash the bottom card, so it's believable that I put the jack, but I don't show it at the moment. I leave a little doubt maybe. Then put the cards on top of here, show the next card with exactly the same handling that I would use later. So I'm using the principle of conditioned naturalness, as the great master Arturo de Ascanio used to say. We do it in a harmless way, then we do it in a harmless way again, and then that's where we apply the trick, the sleight of hand. But people have already been, they have already seen it twice in a harmless context, so they're less prone to see what we're really doing. So when I put the next card, I'd say that the 9 of spades, I go back to the first one and say it's not the jack as well. And here comes the spectator's card. Now it's important to manage this situation in such a manner that the spectator doesn't go, that's my card. So how to do that? You can see this in the presentation, but I like to mention it here. There are different ways of doing it. Of course, one way is to say, and please don't say anything. I know what I'm doing. I mean, it's already the second time I've done it, or something like this. The first time it failed, or whatever. So maybe lends a little credibility to the fact that you're failing here. So it is a problem that has to be identified and a solution picked to avoid the spectator goes, Now I perform the glide, actually, the real glide, put the indifferent card down, immediately go back and mention the other 2 cards. And when I go back, I leave the card glided, which allows me to take the next indifferent card and say, so your card must be between the bottom card, and I replace it on the bottom, and the top card, and I turn it over. It is the top card, bottom and the top card. Now, we do basically an effect which is card at number. So, since the psychologist failed to resort to magic, the spectator names any number. I take the bottom card, which I can flash at that moment of the little flash, the little misdirection, which allows me to just do the little glide necessary to access the second card from the bottom. I go down to the number that the spectator has chosen, whatever she said, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. At the last number, yes, I extract, of course, the real card. And then, it's very important now to set up the finale correctly. I ask for the name of the card. Now, the spectator will say the 8 of diamonds. That's where I hesitate a little bit and say, no, not the one I showed you before, the one you selected at the beginning, reinforcing, you know, the belief that I make the mistake. And then I turn it over, again, towards myself first, and then the spectator. Very strong reaction, but if you do this with your friends or for whatever context, normal context, where people react normally, they will dash for that card. You always find somebody go for that card and turn it over, and of course that's another reaction. It's so to speak the epilogue to the effect. You know, when you can show the other cards. Oh no, there's very innocent cards. The glimpse is a technique that will allow us to secretly obtain knowledge of one or several cards at the bottom, at the top, or in the center of the deck. Let's look at the top card riffle glimpse in the hands. Now, old-time magicians used to have this technique, which is like lifting a card and looking at it like this. It was very effective, but of course a little obvious. So I thought about hiding it in the action of simply riffling the pack like this. Looks very innocent, and I saw it's the Queen of Diamonds. So here's how we operate that. We have a break already beneath the top card, held by the little finger. We start the riffling action until about half up. At that moment, the card is in the correct angle for the index to be sighted, which will allow me at that point to lift the gaze, make a comment, and finish the riffle. So the overall perception of the audience, I haven't even looked at the cards, which is very effective. So let's look at this from the back. Riffle up. As you do this, make sure again that the top card is as flat as possible. So avoid the ski jump mistake that often occurs when we're holding a break. So don't do any of that. Make sure that the card is absolutely flat and the action looks very soft and innocent. In this technique and all of these similar techniques, a very gentle and light grip with the cards is very important. 52 Lovers is a wonderful book my friend Jose Carroll wrote, and it's entirely about card magic. And as the title suggests, he treats the playing cards like his lovers. Now that's a good image to retain when we handle playing cards. And there is a nice story about Arturo de Ascanio, the great card master. He walks through the streets and passes a shop where they sell playing cards, and suddenly all the playing cards turn and say, "Oh look, our great love is going by." The same technical principle of the top card rifflings can be applied in different ways. For instance, in a riffle shuffle context, the deck is really riffle shuffled, and in the action I have glimpsed the top card with just 10 of hearts. There are two ways of doing that, and the first is a technique as it was already described in one of the great classics of card magic, 1902, Erdnäser's Expert at the Card Table. You start an open riffle shuffle, and as you go, the left forefinger slightly slides the top card of its packet inward. So it looks like that, and in the action the corner is being glimpsed. You can facilitate it by previously obtaining a break under the top card. So as I casually square the deck, I have obtained a left thumb break under the top card. If you now start the riffle, you get the same dynamics than we already explained in the top card riffle glimpse in the hands. As about half the cards are riffled off, I can already see the index of the card, so I can lift my gaze as I finish the riffle shuffle. You can also glimpse the card and then release a specific number of cards on top. In this case, I'm releasing 3 cards on top. So now you know the position, you know the identity of the card, which is at 4th position from the top. Now here's a very simple glimpse that allows you to look secretly at the bottom card. It's called the all-around square up glimpse. All you do is what we've learned in the basic section of the course. You do an all-around square up. But in the all-around square up, here is what happens. The deck rotates on the forefinger, and there is a moment the deck arrives about in this vertical position, and you can see the whole face of the deck. Now the secret here is, like with all the glimps, not to be too tight, too close to the body, but to keep the hands further away. Also, to not seem to look directly at the deck, but have a reason, find a reason. Maybe there is a card that is turned over. You say, sir, would you please turn over that card over there? You look at this card, or you look at whatever is important in the context of the specific trick you're performing. And you make sure that the glimpse, the card to be glimpsed, gets into the field, yes, a field of vision where this card is. So you never have to apparently look directly at the card you're glimpsing. There are many situations while you are performing a trick that will allow you to glimpse the bottom card within the situation. So there's not even specific techniques to look for. For instance, a spectator has just shuffled the cards and you take back the deck. As you take it back, you look at him and say, thank you, sir. And just by slightly tilting the back, just slightly tilting the back and having this in your field of vision, you can glimpse the index, which is further away, this one. You go further away like that. You can say, oh, this is a very fast experiment. It's going to take about 3 seconds. You can time it, and you look at your watch, or you point to your watch, and at that moment, it will allow you to see the card. Now, if you want to protect the bottom card because you want to avoid that somebody else could maybe see it as well, you just move your forefinger here, and you have a little arc. So you're shifting the forefinger over there, you're pointing to whatever misdirection is. In this case, it's the watch, and you can see the corner. You can cover the pointing to the watch with a little gag and say, this is the fastest trick in the world. Shall I do it again? The little laugh, yes, will now cover, but you be used as a misdirection. You say, yeah, it takes out in about 3 seconds, or it takes out in about 2 seconds, whatever. Yeah. Then you can push something aside. You have, for instance, you have the card case and say, sir, please come a little bit closer. Let me put this on the side. And that allows you to glimpse the bottom card as well. You can pull up the sleeve by saying, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be sure that there's nothing up my sleeve. There's a wonderful moment to glimpse the card. The next glimpse I call the overhand shuffle glimpse. It's a very harmlessly looking action like so. It's just a simple overhand shuffle. And still, I have seen the bottom card. It's the 8 of spades. There we are. So here that goes. It's the first action. Rather than chopping off or pulling off the packet, the left thumb tilts the packet a little bit to the left. So it's a almost imperceptible moment. You look at, again, the same idea. You have a field of vision. You look for the thumb. At that moment, you can glimpse. It's very easily glimpse the bottom card of the packet which is being chopped off. Continue, look up. Now follow up with a shuffle that retains the bottom card, and then either false cut or relay shuffle up to about half, let it drop the other half, in jog the bottom portion, cut at the in jog, which is a real cut, which is always better than a false cut, and you bring the glimpse card to the bottom. Very effective and very deceptive glimpse. Sometimes you will be required to glimpse a card from the center. Mostly it will be a card that you are holding a break, such as after you did a peek, for instance, or after diagonal pushing. So let's assume we are having the 8 of diamonds and the break is being held beneath it. So here is the action. As the right hand comes over it, it starts to perform an all-around square-up action. But just before we do that, we form a step. I'm going to exaggerate that, as we saw in the basic section at the beginning of this course. Step is performed. This happens obviously under cover of the right hand. Immediately go into an all-around square-up action, which allows you to see the index of the bottom card of the top packet. You can also see the bottom card at this point, and if you push with your forefinger, you can even have a look. Let me do this clearly so you get that. You can even have a look at the top card. You can glimpse 3 cards at the same time. So here's how the action looks. you can immediately square up the deck. Now, to end this chapter, the easiest glimpse in the world. You have the card shuffled by a spectator, you take it back and say, sir, 52 cards in a totally haphazard arrangement obtained by your shuffle. Now, of course, you have an occasion to look at the top card, the second. You can look for key cards you had before. You can remember the bottom card. It doesn't matter. Just take the deck up, put it down, start the presentation of the effect. Afterwards, you can refer back to the spectator and say, so remember, sir, you shuffled the cards, and I assure you, most people will forget that you even touched the cards, let alone spread them face up on the table to begin with. So, from these 52 cards, I would like you to determine one. And determine by just cutting off a packet and looking at the card you cut off, please. Go ahead. I look a little bit away. Yes, you got it? Show it to Anna as well. Look at it again yourself. And the cards you're holding, shuffle them thoroughly. Shuffle them thoroughly. Yes, go ahead, exactly. And you lift off a portion of this pack and you just stick the cards back, please. Go ahead and you put the rest on top. I mean, totally hopelessly lost somewhere. And I'm you do a very nice riffle shuffle, so I'm going to ask you to please riffle shuffle the cards like that, if you will. Yes, please. Go ahead. And please remember the card is very important, because in just a few seconds I'm going to demonstrate a very incredible thing. Now, I'm asking you, shall I touch the cards or shall I not touch them at all?
Don't touch them.
Don't touch them.
I don't touch them at all. Okay. So let me see. I ask you to, you're thinking of the card, right? Mm-hmm. Good. Now, draw it in the air. You know, so if it's the 5 of clubs, you do like that in the air, okay? But I don't look, okay? I look away, take off my glasses. I'm legally blind, so I can't see anything. Good.
Okay.
You draw it in the air, okay? You have it? Good? Mm-hmm. Good. Where is it? Where is it? In the air. Where did you draw it?
Right here.
Here. Look. And catch it. I know. The 8 of hearts.
That's right.
Is it?
Yeah.
And it's the only 8 of hearts in the whole pack?
Yeah.
Yes. So let me unroll the writing again, give it back to you. Yes, a little souvenir.
Thank you.
Impossible is a very deceptive card trick that will even fool posted card experts. However, there's a little price to pay. And here it is. You need a completely set up deck. Now, in this particular example, I'm just going to take a new deck order pack. Of course, it can be done once you are familiar with stacked packs like Size Stebbins or 8 Kings, Aronson or Tamariz, mnemonic system, whatever. You will be able to use that. The advantage, however, of a new deck order is that you can do this anytime you open up a new deck. So here is the order, and I advise to use the order ace through king from the face to the back. Yes? So they go like this, like this, like this. And remember the color order. Hearts, spades, diamonds, or clubs, or whatever order you are familiar with. The principle, the working principle is that if the spectator cuts, wherever he cuts, and we look, in this case, I cut to the queen, and we look at this top card, which is the jack, we know that the next one is the card the spectator has cut to. So I cut somewhere else. I have the 9 of spades, so I know the next has to be the 10 of spades. Now, the reason the colors, the suits, have to run in an order, is that if you happen to cut into a king, yes, for instance, and you look at the king, now you know the next color has to be an ace, and you know it's diamonds because diamonds follows spades, in our case. So, here is the management of the top card riffle shuffle glimpse, which is the method we're going to use. The spectator cuts off whatever she cuts off, looks at the bottom card. Yes, in this example, she has the ace of clubs and shuffles the cards up. I ask the other spectator to lift off, put that back, and it's hopelessly lost. Now I slide the deck towards the spectator and say, and you may shuffle the cards. And there's a little demonstration. I will shuffle it myself. And as I do the shuffle, I do the top card riffle shuffle glimpse. So in this case, I see that the top card is the King of Diamonds, which leads me automatically to the Ace of Clubs. So now I know the card and I can reveal it in any way. Now remember in the presentation I did this presentation where I have the spectator draw it in the air. I grab the information, yes, invisibly, and then divine it. Now, just a short word on presentation. We are always told presentation is the most important thing, it's the most important thing to entertain people. Well, it certainly is important to fascinate people, yes, to appeal to their mind and to appeal to their heart, the pathos and the logos of the ancient Greeks. But I don't think the presentation is the first thing we should think about. The first thing really is the effect. If we have a weak effect, no good presentation is going to make it a good trick, you know. And before we get to the presentation, the personality of the performer is very important. So the personality and the effect precede the presentation. And once you have the first two things, well then it's the moment to think about the presentation. And Impossible is a very nice example for that, I think. The key card is a card that takes us to the card the spectator has selected before. Now, a key card can be above, below, or a certain distance from the spectator's card, and it can be different kinds of key cards. It can be a marked card, one that you can recognize from the back. It can be an altered card, one that has a cut corner, or a cut end, or a cut side, etc. We are going to use the most straightforward and simple key card, which is the glimpsed card. Now let's assume our key card is on top after we have glimpsed the Four of Hearts. Here is the key card in the hand-to-hand spread. We ask the spectator to take a card. While he's taking it, looking at it and show it to the other spectators, we overhand shuffle the card, but chop off about half the deck, in-jog the next, shuffle off, and then obtain a break below the in-jog card. So now we have a break above our key card, which is the Four of Hearts. I start spreading the deck between the hands and ask for the spectator to replace his card. And as I do, I stop at the break, open up the deck like this. I call this the crocodile technique. It looks like the mouth of a crocodile. And the spectator will replace the card at this spot, thereby placing it immediately above the Four of Hearts. Now this is much superior to just saying to the spectator, please put the card here. This is a great restriction. Whereas fanning the cards like this, using the crocodile technique, looks as if he could have placed the card any place in the deck. Now you will ask, what do you do if he doesn't place it there? Well, he will if he practice enough and have self-confidence, but I tell you what to do if he puts it somewhere else. Let's say he puts it somewhere below. Well, it doesn't matter. I immediately take it out and say, by the way, don't forget the card. If he puts it up a little bit higher, I do exactly the same thing. I separate the spread at my key card, take it out and say, oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget this card. It's going to be very important right away. Let's look at the other very effective way to set the key card. We have glimpsed the card in a previous action. So let's assume it's the Four of Clubs. Four of Clubs is our key card. I start out by spreading the deck and say, would you please take out any card? The spectator pushes out any card from the spread, and that's where I stop him. I stop him and say, please, are you sure that you want to have this card? You can change if you like. And the idea here, I want this image to sink in. That's my first photograph I want him to remember. The moment he looks at the card and shows it to other spectators, I gather the spread, so the attention is over there, and I here with less attention, I gather the spread, go back, and with a swing cut, swing the top half into my left hand, ask the spectator to replace it. So the Four of Hearts, in our case, is the spectator's card, and it's placed right below my key card, which is the Four of Clubs. Now immediately respread the deck and reconstruct the situation, because I want him now to forget that I gave him a limited choice of putting the card back, which was just the place I cut the pack. I want him to remember that he apparently took the card out of the spread and put it back. So is how I proceed. I will remind him and say that the deck was shuffled, yes, and he will have to agree. I say, you pushed out the card, yes, I'm using the same words and I'm using the same gestures I already used before, which is going to remember. And I say, you looked at the card. Now up to here everything was true and he has to agree with me. And here is where I introduce a little lie and I say, and you put it back, and I do this gesture. Now my gesture, of course, makes sense. The configuration of the cards is there to see. And I immediately follow it up by saying, so your card is lost somewhere in the pack. Now that's again, of course, true. So by using the structure, this is a truth, a truth, a truth, a little lie, and then a truth. The way he's going to finally remember the situation is exactly the way I want him to remember, namely that he took a card and put it back, but I, in reality, have it beneath my key card. I know. Now here's another way, which is very effective. It does glimpse the card and set the key card at exactly the same time. I have a spectator, I ask him, sir, would you please cut and shuffle the cards? He shuffles them, he cuts them, I take them back, and I will ask him, as I dribble the cards, would you please say stop whenever you please? So here is how I proceed. When a spectator says stop, I stop. And I give him a choice. I say, sir, would you rather have this card? And I point to the face card. Now I wait about 2 seconds, because that's the moment the spectator needs to anticipate my next action, which is, since I said, would you like the bottom card, he expects me to say, well, what's the other possibility? Of course, it's the top card. And I say, or the top card over here. As I do this and I gesture that, that's the outward reality he's going to remember. But in this instance, the pack is tilted enough so I can glimpse the bottom card. In that case, is a 7 of diamonds. So now, whatever he says, I'm in a good position. If he wants the bottom card, well, it's fantastic, because I already know it. So we can afterwards replace it and we can shuffle the cards. It's like a forced card, so to speak. If, on the other hand, he likes to take this card, well, that's good too, because whatever it is, in our case, it's the 3 of spades, I'm going to drop the rest on top, thereby placing my key card on top. And then I can dribble the whole thing on the table and truly say, your card is lost somewhere in the pack. Now let's look at a few ways to effectively control the card above or below which we have a known key card. So first is control by cutting, which is a simple way. We just go to the key card and cut to it. And to make it less obvious, we need to introduce some strategies. Let's assume the key card was, which is sometimes very useful, was a joker. Now we have it here. We have the joker. The card next to it, the card below it or above it, depending on what technique you were using, is a spectator's card. Now one way of handling this is say, oh, let me take out the joker because we don't need it in this trick. Something like this. And it was in this action that we brought the spectator's card to the bottom or the top according to our needs. Let me go through this slowly because it's a way of cutting the deck so it's not perceived as if it was cut. The deck turns like this. I look up, put it on top, which completes the cut intuitively, and turn the whole thing face down. Now, of course, I have to keep the cards with the face towards myself. Since the spectator knows the card, you don't want him to see the selected card while you're doing this. Now, there are other ways of going about using the same principles. You can say, oh, for this we will need the 4 kings. And you do that, we throw out the kings, and thus we come to the key card. Let's say we come to the key card. Let's say I want to cut it at this point. I just push the kings forwards, which lowers my right hand. Now, it looks absolutely logical to replace the cards on the bottom. I make a little comment, which is a positive insertion at this time, and I restart the spread between the hands and take out the next 2 kings, and that has effectively delivered the spectator's card to the top of the pack. Now, another way of bringing the spectator selection, which we'll assume to be the ace of diamonds to the top, is by spreading the cards between the hands and making some kind of comment. So I say your card is somewhere in the pack. Now when I see the spectator's card, I pull either the card to the right of it or the card itself, depending where I want to have the card. I put it inward, exactly with the same technique we've seen with how to obtain a break above bottom cards in the hand spread at the very beginning in the basic card technique section. I close up the cards, flip them over, which of course doesn't change anything, and then can pick up a break either above or below the in-jogged card and deliver it to the top or whatever with the double undercut that I follow with a false shuffle. And yet another way of controlling the key card is by using a table spread. So let's assume our card again to be the ace of diamonds. I say, your card, sir, is somewhere in the pack. I tap the cards a little bit. So in this case, I want to pick up a break above the diamonds, above the ace of diamonds. I start gathering the spread, and as I do, I put my left thumb on top of the card, which is to the left, from my side to the left of the ace. I continue pushing, and if we do that, let me exaggerate this a bit so you can see this very clearly. And pushing that, all the cards above the thumb, they get squared up like so, and we're left with the spread. And when I'm here, the right hand takes over an end grip. I can change the grip and very easily pick up a break with the left little finger and then cut in a later action to it. And or as an alternative, rather than doing this, while I take up the one, I in-jog the card next to it, put everything together, throw it over and square them at the fingertips and thereby obtain a break. Here's a very effective way of keeping the key card and the selection together. We'll assume that one of the jacks is the key card, the other one the selection. It looks just a harmless overhand shuffle. In reality, the cards have stayed together. What you do is you shuffle in one or two shuffle movements, less than half the pack, because you know it's about in the middle is the key card. Then you drop about half the deck and shuffle off. This effectively keeps together the cards. There's another way of doing it, which is even more convincing. You can hand the spectator the deck and say, and you can shuffle the cards. Yeah? So how do you do that? Well, most people, when they use an overhand shuffle, they will just use about 4 or 5 shuffle movements. I mean, 5 shuffle movements is just 4 cuts. The probability that he cuts into the one of the 51 spaces you have in the 52 deck is very, very remote. There's a way to limit him to just one shuffle. As soon as the spectator starts the shuffle, I immediately say as soon as he starts the shuffle, I immediately say to him, and please cut it once on my hand, just once. This, of course, distracts him. It makes that he stops the shuffle after one run through, so he just cut the pack about 4 or 5 times. And there's a really minimal probability that the key card gets separated from the spectator's card, but the effect obtained afterwards is very, very strong, of course. I'm often asked, what does it take to become a magician? So I'll tell you, 3 things. First of all, you have to practice a lot. That seems obvious. Second thing, less obvious, you have to have a very good memory. Third thing, I forget. Okay, doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Let me show you something. Oh, yes, this thing with the cards. Good. Now, would you please, Anna, shuffle the cards? Shuffle the cards, bring them, yes, in any order. And I've participated in the World Championships of Memory, and I got second. I forgot who the first was, I don't know. You shuffled?
Just one.
Oh, very good. Please cut, Ruth.
Okay.
Very good. And we're going to determine a card. So, the shuffle and cut pack, would you just take anyone you like? Yes? You happy with it? Look at it. Good?
Should I show it to Ruth?
Well, I won't look, because otherwise I'm giving me a... Good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Put it back, please. Go ahead. Yes. So, you agree. You shuffled the cards yourself. Yes?
Yeah.
You pulled out any card.
Yes.
You both looked at it. Then you put it back. Somewhere in the pack. Which even further shuffle a little bit. Now here's what I'm about to show you. What was I doing? Oh yeah, the memory thing. Good, the memory thing. The memory thing. I'm going to try to memorize the pack of cards in about 20 seconds. Do you happen to have a watch with a second? No. Oh, it doesn't matter. You can estimate 20. I'm going, look, to spread the cards so we can see all the cards here. Okay. So, and then you say, ready, steady, go. And I go about 20 seconds. I try to memorize all the cards. Good? Go ahead.
Ready, steady, go.
Okay. Okay. How I'm doing? I think I still have a. Okay. Okay, I got them. I got them all. It's 5 of clubs, king of clubs, 7 of diamonds. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm not telling. Yeah. It's jack of clubs, 4 of spades, etc., until to the last. I think is a jack of diamonds, 3 of clubs, and was it 8 of? Yes. Okay, I got it. I got them all. Good. It's a very good memory. So let me remember what. Yes. Now look, what you do. Look at the spread and find your card with the eye. I look away so I can't follow your eye. Now here, Ruth, I'm going to ask you to take out the card whenever you and put it somewhere else. Okay, put it in another place in the spread.
Okay.
Yes? So the idea, I'm going to look at the spread again afterwards and try to find, to remember the order, and normally I can find out which one is out of order. Did you change it?
I changed it.
Okay, now tap a little bit the spread so I can't, I can't know where you moved cards, because if you move the cards maybe, okay. I even go to gather the cards and I spread them again, so, Okay, so here we are. Let me start again. So it's 5, and there's the king, it's the 7. Okay, I got everything, I got here. Yes, that's the 5, and then the 7 of hearts, it was this. And then it was 9 of the hearts, plus the queen of diamonds, which was next to it, and the jack, and the... Wait. One is missing here. There was a queen of diamonds here, which, and the 5 and 7. This is the card you moved.
That's the card I
that?
moved, yeah.
Yes. I'm so glad I have phenomenal memory.
That is a crazy memory. That was incredible.
That is impressive.
Yes. Phenomenal memory explains a trick that belongs to a very special category of magic effects. It's a category where people could believe that the phenomena you're going to demonstrate is genuine. So it's the first decision to make in that type of trick. Do you want them really to believe that what you're doing is genuine, or do you want to use some kind of humor or whatever ways and means, so at the end they think, well, it was not really like that, and it was some kind of magical effect. So it's that's a decision to make with this category of trick. The method used in phenomenal memory is the key card. Very simple key card, and the handling, as you can see from the presentation, was the key card in the ribbon spread. So the spectator takes a card, whatever it is. I know the bottom card, and it is replaced in the center. Let's assume the spectator's card in this example is the 9 of diamonds, and my example to remember is the 10 of diamonds. Goes on top, spread again, do the shuffle where the central portion is retained, thus the key card doesn't get separated from the spectator's selection. Now, the memorization of the spread. There are a few things that make it very credible. While you have about 20 seconds to look through the card, the only thing you do is you identify the spectator's card. In this case, remember, it was the 9 of diamonds, and you try to memorize the first 3 or 4 cards. Usually it's very easy. In this case, 10, 7, 6, and the king, and then you go, and at the end, you just say, okay, I think I got them all. It's a 10 of hearts, a 7 of diamonds, 6 of hearts, and you look back, and spectators are already a little bit surprised, and you remember the next few cards, you know. And so you say, yeah, that's correct. It's the king, and yes, I have them. And at that moment, I look at the last few cards, and say, yes, I got everything until the end. Yes, the 2 of clubs, the 7 of spades, the 5 of spades, and the 10 of... Yes, exactly. And you know, at that moment, spectators are not really sure, is that genuine or what's happening? So, now the spectator moves the card while, of course, I'm looking away. And it's very important, remember from the presentation, to tell the spectator to tap the cards so you can't see where there are some spaces, because that's the first solution they will have. They will think, well, he just sees where I've moved the card. You can also pick up the spread and re-spread it again. So for the revelation, it's important to dramatize it. So to go through, and maybe when you arrive at the spot the card is missing, you know, because we have the 9 missing here, just recite it. Say, okay, it was the heart, the 10, the 9, and another 8, and you pretend not to see it. Then you go back here, and now you look at the 4 or 5 cards that are around the 9, and you go like 5 of diamonds, it was Jack of diamonds, the Queen of hearts. Oh, wait, there's a card over here. Huh? So whichever way you do it, I think it's a good idea to think about how to dramatize the revelation. In the double lift, we are apparently turning over and displaying the top card to the audience, but in reality, it's the second card from the top, and the top card remains hidden. Now let's look first of all at how to obtain a break beneath the top 2 cards. There must be a justification, as always, for the right hand to come over the deck. So we can pick up a spread, we can dribble the cards, we spread them between the hands. At this moment, the right hand comes over the spread, the cards are squared and brought into a slight beveled configuration, like this. If you now pull up straight with the thumb, you're going to separate the top card from the rest of the cards, and you continue pulling up, and you can pull up the next one, and you could do it with 3 and 4 and 5 this way. So, now the important thing, as we have already seen with how to obtain a break underneath the top card, is not to have a movement of the right hand going like this, but the right hand is more or less motionless. The thumb just feels for the cards, and the left hand moves a little bit downward. So that is the action which is sufficient to obtain a break underneath the top 2 cards. Another way of achieving it is by displaying it, as you will see the performer section. I will use this technique quite often. I take the top card, and as I do, I push it over, but keep pushing with the left thumb. So the top card is going to be pushed over. Then the same technique applies as we've already seen in the beginning. The left thumb pushes back and thereby enables the left little finger to obtain a break beneath it. So here's the action. I say, I'm going to put this card over here. Now, of course, I have to put the card back on the pack. Now, this needs to be an in-transit action. So I will say, and please take your forefinger. Take your forefinger, and I indicate the forefinger like that. So that's an in-transit action. That's a principal action. And I would like you to put your finger right on this card. And the spectator put it there, for instance. It's one example how to manage that. And yet another possibility to obtain a break beneath the top 2 cards is by simply pushing the top card a little bit over, then keep pushing and pushing the second card over, and pull both cards back, and in the action the left little finger can obtain a break beneath the top 2 cards. Now, once this is done, there are different ways to display the card. Now, the origin of the double turnover was the double lift, which is somehow, regardless of how it is gripped, the card is taken and lifted up from the deck. So it can be done that way, it can be done this way, it can be done that way, whatever. A good and safe way for you to start at the beginning is to simply show the card like that. It's in a secure grip. You keep moving it lightly so that even people who have a very sharp eyesight cannot see the 2 cards. There's a little pressure with the forefinger, not too much. Don't hold the card like that. Nobody holds a card like that. Don't hold it like a brick. Just hold it like it was a very light leaf, like a playing card. Yes, very lightly. Now again, you have to create an in-transit action to put the card back, because otherwise if you just say, this is the 3 of spades, I'm going to put it here on the table. This is not artistic card magic. This is bad card magic. So find a way, for instance, say, sir, would you stretch out your right hand? Yes, a little bit higher, please. Yes, thank you. 5.3 inch over the table will do. And then you go like this. And if we do a little gag, this will cancel the memory of what we just did before. It helps for the deception. Let's now look at the double turnover. In the double turnover, the card is, as the term suggests, turned over on top of the deck. Now it's immediately boxed with the rest of the cards, which has the advantage that no one, regardless from which angle they look, can see the thickness of the card. And we don't have to find a reason to replace a double card, but can immediately just take the top card and put it on the table. So let's look at the exact fingering of this slide. We have already obtained a little finger break. The left thumb moves on top and fixes the card, this securely. So whatever happens to the card here, this card is locked on top of the deck. The fingers of the right hand move in, move this a little bit out, and you get the card into a so-called pinch grip. Now pinch grip is if you have 2 fingers on the bottom, you have the thumb on the top, and you very lightly press in this space. This will cause stability of the card. It prevents that the cards misalign. So we go like this. Look that the forefinger protects the outer right corner of the pack. So you don't see this, because that's the moment you could see that 2 cards are being lifted off. To avoid this, the left forefinger protects that angle. You go in, pinch the card, now slide it over and bend it very gently. Bend it very gently. This will make that the card remains aligned at all times. Now, with a very gentle toss, let it drop a little bit forward, just about twice or 3 times the width of the white border will be enough. Immediately block the double with your left thumb. Get the forefinger down there, press down lightly. I'm going to exaggerate this action a little bit. You see, if you exaggerate, the cards split, otherwise they don't. Just very lightly. And push back. Immediately the left little finger can reobtain a break beneath them, and you give a light tap from the back, like so, yes, which makes that all the cards are in a perfect way. Simply repeat the same action, and you got the double back on top of the deck. There are a few things to take into consideration. First of all, don't look at the card when you turn them over. A good way to misdirect the spectator is to say, well, the top card, and point to the card. Now lift the finger and look at the audience through the finger. Keep the gaze on the audience and lower the finger. Now start the double lift, and as it falls face up, go back again and take the 3 of spades. There's going to be your card, which you're going to place over here. So that's effective management of the gaze and the action, and it's the wonderful idea of Juan Tamariz, one of the great masters of card magic. Whenever we do this type of double lift, there is a tendency to keep the deck towards ourselves. First, because it just feels more comfortable. Second, because we somehow want to protect the card. But of course, we are showing this to our audience, so it's very important not only to slightly tilt the deck towards the audience, but also to wait. There is a tendency, of course, we have a little fear that we are going to be detected. So we want immediately to turn it back again. But this has to be fought. It's necessary to at least keep this position like for 3 or 4 seconds and say the 3 of spades. And if you have a little bit a larger audience, to go like it, make sure that everybody gets a good view of the card. If you have a larger audience, like in a parlor situation, even stage, we can lift the deck like so and display it in a vertical plane, then go back here, turn them over, and proceed as the requirements of the trick are. Do you believe that the hand is quicker than the eye?
No.
That's what I say about it. Well, let me show you an experiment that depends on quickness, okay? So I'm going to take a playing card, which we're going to put like here. So it's the 4 of hearts, and I put a magic circle, so to speak. Here's the 4 of hearts. We can the card over there for the moment. And take another card, which is going to be in front of you over here, which is the King of Clubs. Mm-hmm. You can touch the it doesn't come off, you know. Some people think the color rubs off or so. That's really a card, right?
Right.
And on the back, it's also a card. You touch? Yes,
yep.
so you put your finger on it. Yes? Right. So the King of Clubs. And you're going to enter the circle and put the deck on top of the 4 of hearts. Good, yes. Look. Very quick. The 4 of hearts is vanished. Well, it's not really vanished. It penetrates the deck. Now look, it goes up. Look. It comes up to the top. Now, that wouldn't be bad, but I want to show you a miracle. Look, I just go like this. And now I have your king. And you show them.
Come on.
Awesome.
Rise and swap belongs to the rare category of card tricks where a card is not selected. Therefore, it's very interesting to occasionally put a card effect of that type into a routine, into a little act. So I'd like to show this to illustrate how to handle the double lift and also how to manage a transposition. Transposition is a problematic effect category because it's very easy to create confusion. As the great magician Vernon always said, confusion is not magic. So let's see how we can put the utmost clarity into this presentation so that people really remember which card is where. So I start out by double lifting the top 2 cards, and here is the handling I would use in this particular presentation. I will take off the top card and push off the next card, so that's the handling we have previously discussed in the technical section. Put it back so I can show the circle, and I go with the card, yes, in this space. So the identity of this card is associated with this space. Now I turn the double over, maintain the position, and move the hand away. This is a very clever idea of managing the double lift by the great Juan Tamariz. Because the moment the card is turned over, the spectators still see the image of the 4 of hearts. Now I move over to the second spectator, use exactly the same technique than just explained to show this spectator the King of Clubs. With the double lift, it's always a problem that you can say, this is the King of Clubs. I'm going to put the King of Clubs over here. That's a bad thing to do. If you did that after some time, you will notice that some people, they feel challenged. They say, oh, let me see. Because they've seen some tricks and they believe they don't believe any longer that the things that you say are the things that really are. So here's a way to get around that, and is to say, so the King of Clubs, this is your card. Touch the card, yes, and touch the card from the back. I'm going to put this card over here. Now I'm not saying the King of Clubs, I'm showing this card. So I have generalized, using a word generalize the identity, and this doesn't create a challenge you create if you say I'm going to put the King of Clubs there, which really isn't. So I have the spectator put his finger on that because I don't need to do anything over there. Now here we have an indifferent card. The King of Clubs is on top, and this has already the cards from previously over there. I show the card has vanished, pretend it came to the top, introduce a break, and say, well, that was not very bad, but it's a miracle if I snap over the card, show that it has traveled over there, then let the spectator himself turn over the card, and it's the previous card that was over there. Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser, he was the most famous card magician of the 19th century, Austrian magician. He changed the way magicians would look at magic, you know, especially card magic. So I have inherited the glove of Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser. Now whoever wears it can do some fantastic things. And I hope to do this right now for you. Look, the cards, I'm going to drop them like that. And Anna, please say stop whenever it pleases you.
Stop.
Stop. Look at the card.
Okay.
Caitlin, look at the card.
Okay.
Please remember the card. Somewhere lost in the pack. Yes. Now, I'm going to wear the glove of Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser and do hopefully something very incredible. Look, we're going to take one card and we're going to put it over here on the table. And well, I hope it's not your card, right? Three of diamonds, not your card?
No.
Good. Look, very slowly beneath the glove of Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser. What was your card?
Ace of spades.
Ace of spades? Maybe to change the ace of spades.
Wow.
But we can look. It can change into any card. Look, name any other card.
Eight.
Too late. It's gone. I'm afraid.
That is a magical glove.
No, it's a magical glove, and you know, I'm going to keep this because I never know what I'm going to use it for. You know, in the future. Any questions at this point? No.
Nope.
Well, there is a scientific explanation for that. You know. Yes, it's like a mirage in the desert. You see something, but it's not real there. It's somewhere else. It's only a mirroring of it. Now, your card was the?
Ace of spades.
Ace of spades. Now look, the ace of spades really has never been in the pack. No. It's been a mirage. Because all the time I was a little bit uncomfortable sitting. Did you feel that's a little bit uncomfortable? Because on the chair. Look, I'm going to stand up.
What?
On the chair.
In
Look.
the world.
Oh.
Amazing.
With the glove of Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser. It's one of my favorite card pieces. Vanished without a trace is a variation of Rub-a-Dub-Dub from Expert Card Technique. Now the theme, the plot, is the glove of Johann Nepomuk Hofzinser, and this gives a dramatic reason for why something is going to happen to the card at all, you know, why it changes, why it's going to vanish. Technically, a card is selected and brought to the top. What you saw in the performance section is this particular handling where I dribble the cards, the spectator says stop, and I'm going to show the bottom card. Now there's a very efficient and practical control when spectators are further away, such as in parlor or in stage work, because the audience doesn't have to pick the card and put it back. In this case it's the 7 of spades. I replace the packet, maintain a break between the two packets, and bring the pack to elevated dealing position, always maintaining the break as we've seen earlier in the course. Now I do the post-peak overhand shuffle control, which delivers the card to the bottom, and I do the overhand shuffle where the bottom card comes back to the top. So selection is on top. I put on the glove, and now I will have to do a double lift. Now, since there is not much feeling in the fingers where you have a glove on, here is the procedure. I take the top card, and as I push it off, I also push off the second card. And as I display the card, or I gesture with the card, the left thumb pulls back and obtains a break beneath the top card. So now in an in-transit action, I place the card on the deck by saying, I'm going to the magic is going to happen here. This is the main action. I go immediately back and can do very easily a double lift. So displaying an indifferent card. Now comes the first transformation, and it has to mirror exactly the handling I'm going to use a little later, which is the Rub-a-Dub-Dub vanish. So here is how it looks to the spectator. I push off the card. The hand, yes, the right hand goes like this on top of the card, and this little corner, yes, is seen, which is going to be important a little later. It's a magic moment, and the card is displayed after the spectator has named his card. Now, as always in these cases, rather than turning the card with the face towards the audience, I turn it first towards myself, has a dramatic pause, and then drop it on a table. Now that's the effect. Now immediately I pick up and say, of course it can be done with any other card. I put it back again and apparently do the same thing. Yes, I did before. In reality, this is the rubber dub-dub move. You push off the card. Apparently, you go get in this configuration, apparently push the card on the tabletop. In reality, the thumb pulls back. So there's quite a deceptive little move. And also the fact helps that before we have associated this space, of course, with this precise action, and people have still in their mind the picture of the card, which was there really a minute earlier. So here we go. And as before the spectator names a card, I say, oh, it's too late. It's a vanish. This usually causes quite a strong reaction. Yes? And in the moment of relaxation, I just go back. In the moment of relaxation, I thumb off the top card so it drops in my lap. So now the trick is apparently finished. I take off the glove and lean back. And if I have a jacket, I just put it in my jacket like this. Or I put it in my pocket, or I can put it in a bag or whatever. But naturally, the body drags the left hand, yes, on the lap. And it's this moment that the left hand just adjusts the card so I'm able to just stand up afterwards and display it on the seat. Now comes the sort of, well, seems to be the end of the presentation. As there was a scientific explanation for that. It was a mirage. I show it's no longer here. Yes, that's very important because otherwise, when I show the card on the chair, the spectator might believe, well, he has a duplicate card. So it's important to eliminate that solution before showing the card. So display the card has vanished. I wait until spectators confirm that. So after a very short dramatic pause, I start to stand up very slowly. And if I have a small audience, like, 2 or 4 or 5 or 6 people around a table, they would already see the card, and that's enough. That's the climax, that's the reaction. If I have a slightly larger audience, or I have a group of people standing in front of, then they will already react, and people will look at their faces. It's a very good moment. And immediately I lift the chair, wait like 2 or 3 seconds so that this image sinks in. And then, if I like, or if it's possible, just spill the card on the tabletop. It's a wonderful, very effective magic trick. The great Diverne once said pertaining to humor, there is no place for humor in magic except that arising out of a situation. And I completely agree with him, and the same applies with flourishes. Excessively used flourishes will just show that you can do something the others can't, and they will give you a solution by telling them, well, it was all ability. That's, if you want to create real magic, the last impression you want to leave with an audience is that everything you have done is by ability. Nonetheless, flourishes are an important part of the card magician's tools. And I think there's some moments in the construction of a routine where a little accentuation, a little action of beauty, a little display of skill will enhance the effect. But it has very cautiously be selected. Now let's look at a few situations. For instance, how can we turn over the top card of the deck? Now, rather than simply going like this, or going like this, or going like that, here is a very neat way of doing it. You can even go a little bit further and turn the whole card based on. So you say, ladies and gentlemen, the Jack of Diamonds goes over there, and 10 over here. Another way that looks a little bit more snappy, maybe in the context of an acrobat card routine, and say, and this is the most skilled card, it always comes to the top. So we hold the card in a pinch grip, press down with the thumb, and the tension in the card will cause it to flip over on its own. Here's a very nice way of turning over the top card, for instance, a dealing routine. We deal the cards 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is my card. I deal the card like this, and this is the card. Edward Marlowe referred to this as the cook's slide because it was shown to him by an anonymous cook. The card is pushed over, and the thumbs, one on the bottom, one on top, cause the card to turn over. That looks very pretty. And again, don't forget to display the card vertically at an angle so everybody can get a good view of it. Here's another way of turning over the top card with just using one hand. The 5 of hearts. The card is pushed over. You dig your forefinger beneath it and just use the other fingers to clip it. It's very nice to, for instance, turn over 2 cards at the same time. Or it can be used in a small packet to count the cards by saying, I have 1 card, I have 2 cards, I have 3 cards, and so on. Here's an elegant way of cutting the card with one hand. We call it the Charlier cut, going back to a French magician by the name of Charlier, about whom we know very little, a mysterious character. The Charlier cut, you start with the deck in dealing position. The forefinger goes beneath it and lifts it up. As the thumb controls the deck on the other side, the little finger goes to the inner end. Now the left thumb lets about half the cards drop. These are shifted over with the forefinger. Remember always to have the little finger over here because otherwise the cards will fall on the table. The deck passes and the 2 packets coalesce. To do this so that it looks elegant, start in the dealing position, go into it, and finish again in the dealing position. A very nice applications here is to say to a spectator, sir, would you please be so kind as to cut the deck? Thank you very much, that's enough. The swivel cut is a neat way to cut the cards. I tell you, this is the swivel cut. It can be done from a break or without a break. If you do it from a break, you can then control a card to the bottom or to the top, depending if the break is held beneath or below the card. So it's what it is. If you do it without the break, the left hand comes over, gets about half the card with the forefinger. Your middle finger acts as a pivot, and you go like this. So here's the action. You can do various things with it. For instance, if you have a card on the bottom, the moment before you drop this packet on top, you stick your thumb in, and if you pull it out, you have a very nice production of the card. So you can either do it this way, or you can do it as the Professor Divernon preferred to do it. Use your finger like this, and now turn it over so the packet falls neatly into dealing position. So either way, as you prefer it, do the swivel cut. This is the boomerang card. Can be effectively used before revealing a card, for instance. You say, and what was your card? Do a little boomerang, turn it over, 7 of hearts. You can do this very high. You can do it just a few inches high. It just looks very nice. It's a nice way of doing it. Now the technique is a combination of 2 movements. First of all, your hand flicks at the wrist like this, just giving a movement at the wrist. The second movement, which is coordinated with the flick of the wrist, is the right forefinger, which turns the card like so, which is held by the thumb and middle finger. If you combine the wrist flick with the right forefinger movement, you get a very attractive boomerang card. Of course, you want to move the hand as little as possible. The less, rather than doing a movement like that, move it as less as possible and give it, this looks very nice if the hand. The fan is something we're going to use over and over again. A fan is good to display cards and say a deck with 52 different cards. It is good to say to a spectator, please put back a card, please have a card. We can stick cards back. So let's look at the 2-hand fan. So the basic idea of the fan is that there is a pivot point which is fixed, and the cards are moved around it, like so, thus obtaining this configuration. So here's how I do the two-handed fan. Rather than having a fixed point around which the cards turn, like this, which would result in a relatively small fan, I have a mobile point. Let me show you first on the table. I exaggerate to make the point. Rather than the deck goes up like this, comes down, and is fanned like that. This results in a much larger fan. Now let's try to do this in the hand. The deck starts in dealing position. You pull it up and get it exactly into that. So the forefinger and the thumb hold the deck about at this point. The right hand will move the cards up, and they move up along the forefinger, the left forefinger, and underneath the thumb. Come over here and come back like this. It's all done in one smooth movement, a little bit like the ribbon spread, where the forefinger moved like that to release the cards. In this case, the thumb releases the cards. At the same time, you have some pressure applied. Although it's not what is called a pressure fan, this is called a pressure fan. We're not using the pressure fan technique here, but a slight pressure downwards, which results in about pressure like this. So you need to use a continuous movement, and the cards are snapped into a fan, like so. Let me show from beneath. If you want to do it with the faces towards the audience, you can do this. Now remember that the cards move up, down like this, resulting in a larger fan. And the movement is very small, but it really makes a difference. To close the fan, you do it reverse side. You put your little finger over here, just move in the other direction and get the deck back into dealing position. Or if you prefer, you can close it using one hand. That will require a little more practice. Let's look at two one-handed fans. One is a very quick one, looks like that. It's best executed with just part of the deck, although you can do it with a whole deck. It's very simple. Four fingers on the back, the thumb on the face, and the two units move in opposite directions. The fingers in this direction, the thumb in the other direction. Try to do this in slow motion, like this. Of course, it doesn't produce a fan. So it's a combined opposite movement of the fingers and thumb on the one side, and pressure of the fingers on the other hand. Like this. And this is called a reverse fan. The cards, as opposed to the two-handed fan where the indexes are displayed, is opened the other way round, thus displaying the white surface, the non-index corner of the deck. Now here's how it's done. The deck is held with the thumb in a parallel position to the ends, the other fingers curled on the back. And what happens, these fingers are going to uncurl. Ultimately, it's a very small movement, a circular movement, like so, that opens the fan. Let me show you from beneath. Here is a nice little flourish that is unpretentious and still has a very nice effect. It starts with the ribbon spread. We turn it over, displaying a deck with 52 cards. Now you can do this back and forth only one way. It's almost automatic. Once you know how to do a tabled ribbon spread, all you have to do is just flip the cards over, and on their own they will turn over. It's nice to accompany the crest either with the forefinger or with the thumb. And you can catch the cards and bring them back, or if you like, you can say a deck of cards, 52 different cards, bring them back and gather them. You can split the spread, if you like, in the center, going in 2 directions. You can do this with your fingers, or you can do this with a card. So you can take an assisting card, turn it over, and go like this, which also looks very nice, and take even a second card and split the spread, if you like, at this point. Although all these moves are beautiful and intriguing, especially to ourselves as musicians, please take my advice. In many years of professional performance, use them very sparingly.